Black Magic. The Black Fives. They were the ideal mixed-traffic locomotives. They could handle a wide variety of duties, from heavy freight trains to more glamorous passenger expresses. This film uses both archive and modern images to show how the Black Fives became such a popular and numerous design. The Black Five, arguably the best mixed-traffic design ever produced, resulting in one of the most numerous locomotive classes in Great Britain. To their admirers, it appeared as if they could go anywhere and do anything. It was a general principle that the quickest way to improve a railway's locomotive stock was by building a large number of quality mixed-traffic engines, as they tended to give the best value for money. The LMS badly needed ideas such as this to flourish within its new company boundaries, as it owned few modern types of locomotive. These included the Royal Scots, built under extremely rushed conditions in the 1920s, though even these only numbered 70 in total. In the early days, the LMS's motive power generally was either aging or underpowered. Sir William Stanier, the designer of the LMS's new standard range of locomotives that included the Black Fives, was encouraged to join the LMS from the Great Western Railway. It is important to understand, however, that Stanier had a lot more to offer the company than sheer engineering talent. Stanier united the LMS, or at least he created enough objective stability to ensure that the drawing offices of Derby and Crewe faced in the same direction. There were many variations of Stanier's Class 5 locomotives, many of which were developed by Henry George Ivett, a later heir of Stanier's crown. For example, a variety of valve gear was used, ranging from Walsharts and Stephensons to the Caprotti Poppet variety. The class was so successful, it was even used as a model for the later British Railways Standard Class 5, brought about from 1951. Here we see an atypical example of a Black Five as she cruises around the bend with Longdale Fell in the background. It is interesting to note the skirt plough on this locomotive, which can be seen as she comes closer into view. A Black Five has passed Greyrig here, and puts the loops behind her as she heads for higher ground. The Black Fives were very much workaday locomotives. On number 44908, pictured here at Motherwell Depot in 1961, you can see that the engine has been worked so hard that the paint has burnt on the smoke box. The locomotives were efficient and consequently required much less time in maintenance and repairs. Though a little rough riding when ill-maintained, they nevertheless got the job done.
Here at Loughborough Sheds, on the Great Central Railway, number 45305 is one of the railway's operating fleet, and that gives us an opportunity to look at the Black Five, details of its construction, and talk about its work. Stanier, of course, brought many design characteristics with him from the Great Western, and these show in the Black 5, which has a great deal of relationship to a Great Western Hall. Tapered boiler, long travel valves, 2 cylinders, Walshart's valve gear, unlike the Swindon product which had inside Stephenson's link valve gear. Driving wheels that enabled it to work anything from a coal train through to an express, and indeed Black 5s were timed at up to 96 miles an hour. An engine that was easy to maintain and look after, and they provided them also with a much more comfortable cab than existed on the Great Western engines. Not a bad thing when you consider these engines worked all over the LMS, from Bournemouth in the south to Wick in the north. Up in the cab we can clearly see such features as the AWS visual indicator shown here, the speedo and TPWS system fitted in preservation, and the water scoop, which was lowered by the firemen to restore water supplies. This was a skilled task because if the scoop was dropped too early into the trough, the tender was liable to overfill, giving everyone a shower. Here the fire iron tunnel was included as a safety measure, preventing the fire irons from becoming a safety hazard on the footplate or tender. They were, however, tricky to place in and remove from the tunnel, therefore still putting the crew in danger, particularly when they had just been removed from the fire. I'd like to introduce Tom Tighe, who's the Locomotive Superintendent of the Great Central Railway. Thank you for coming to join us, Tom, and morning.
Morning.
And you're the custodian of 45305, of course.
Yes, I've been for the last 30 odd years.
So you know it nearly as well as Sir William Stanier did?
Yeah, probably.
Where did it actually spend most of its working life?
Well, it entered service in January 1937 at Carnforth. Stayed there for a couple of years, then moved down to Crewe, and then it seemed to alternate between Crewe North and Crewe South sheds for quite a number of years. Then it went out further afield, London, Barrow-in-Furness, Workington, that area, and then finished in the northwest.
So with the end of steam, how did the engine come to be saved?
It was bought by Albert Draper and Sons scrap merchants in Hull. It arrived there in tow with 45318, 45388. They were the last 3 engines into the yard.
So just another delivery of scrap, basically.
That's right. And Albert Draper himself, having been the mastermind behind cutting 730 odd up, decided to save one. So he walks into the yard one day, the 3 of them are together, and he just picked the cleanest, and this was the cleanest.
And this was the cleanest, and that's why it was saved.
That's right. Simple as that.
Now, I noticed looking at the builder's plate that this engine was built by Armstrong Whitworth. Why was that?
At the time, the London, Midland and Scottish Railway didn't have the capacity in their own works to build a fleet of which in total ended up at 800 plus engines. So there were various batches farmed out to the principal private loco builders in England and Scotland, and the Black 5s were shared between Armstrong Whitworth, who built 2 batches, and Vulcan Foundry at Newton Lee Willows, who built actually the first batch. So yeah, that's the gist behind that.
So it was a very major scrap and build programme, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. There was getting rid of a lot of pre-grouping locos for more modern mixed traffic machines, which is what 5305 is.
Now I know you've just completed a very major overhaul on the engine. What sort of thing had to be done?
Quite a lot of boiler work this time. The last overhaul we did, we knew the following overhaul would be quite extensive on the boiler. New front tube plate, all the crown stays had to be taken out, new ones fitted, copper welding in the firebox, foundation ring out, new steel sections on the outer wrapper at the lower end, and a considerable amount of restaying work, lap seam patch screws.
So work that on a scale that crew would have been proud of.
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been one of the things. We don't shy off, jobs of that nature just because we probably haven't tackled it before. I mean, it's general engineering, and we just set to and. Well, the proof's in the pudding here.
Well, it's an investment in the engine's future, essentially.
Very much so, very much so.
The engine's done quite a lot of work on the main line in preservation, hasn't it?
It has. It's done a considerable amount of work. It's been the length and breadth of the country, and that was in a period between 1977 and 1992. This overhaul was quite lengthy, and it is intended that the loco does more mainline running in the coming months.
So whilst its home base is here at Loughborough at the Great Central, it's now in a condition where it can go out and operate specials on the main line?
That's correct. It's currently undergoing its network rail certification process, which again is quite extensive, and it also includes fitting all the relevant safety features which govern locomotive operation on the big railway.
So we heard that the engine was saved by Albert Draper. Who actually owns the engine now?
The engine has always been owned by Albert Draper and Sons in Hull. They're known as Drapers of Hull now, and their new works is called Black 5 Works. So that they've still got a connection between the company and the engine. 5305 Locomotive Association are the group of people who have looked after it since 1969, and Drapers are quite happy with the way we look after it, the publicity they get, and long may it continue.
Here, a Black 5 with a parcels train negotiates the Loon Gorge. Dilica Troughs was a regular watering hole for Black 5s. This one appears to have drunk her fill, however. It is thanks to keen railway photographers, such as Ivo Peters, that we are able to enjoy the Black 5s in the well-earned, if somewhat tired glory of the 1960s, as these pictures show. The Black 5 survived well into the preservation era, with no less than 18 examples surviving. In the next sequences, they demonstrate their prowess in turning their wheels to whatever is thrown at them. The East Lancs Railway is a popular venue for preserved Black 5s, not least number 5231. Here, a Black 5 enjoys a glorious day at Settle. On the West Highland Railway, a Black 5 passes Polnish Kirk with a Caledonian observation car attached to the rear of the train. Watch the sparks fly as this double-header gets the road, watched on by a passing local sprinter. One of the Black 5's many duties was to haul summertime trains packed with relaxed holidaymakers to and from coastal destinations. The Black 5s were not merely glorified goods engines. As this shows, they could easily match the turn of speed produced by comparable LMS passenger locomotives. On the Midland main line at Bromsgrove, all trains required a banker on the Lickey incline, as the climb became 1 in 37. The proof of the Black 5s was in their longevity. They managed to last right until the end of steam, both in their many variations and in the influence they provided to succeeding locomotive development. They may well be described as Stanier's jewel in the LMS crown.